It's the Friday before football season officially kicks off, and you know what that means. It's bold predictions time. We're going to do season-long bold predictions with the star of the show, Mick Walker, and myself, Spencer Holbrook. But first, I got to tell you guys about Academy Sports and Outdoors. At Academy Sports and Outdoors, we carry all the gear you need from the top brands, all at low prices you'll love. And now shopping at Academy is more convenient than ever. We offer free assembly on in-store purchases of most bikes and grills. You want a grill? You want a bike? Get it built by the folks over at Academy. Plus, free and easy curbside pickup on academy.com orders. Want to save even more every day? Open and use an Academy Sports and Outdoors credit card to get 5% off future purchases when you're approved. Save time and money at Academy Sports and Outdoors and have fun out there. Now let's welcome in the star of the show, America's star, Nicholas Walker. Mick, how are we doing, man?
I am by no means the star of the show. I am just a piece of the engine, a cog in the whole process. So I'm happy to be joining you. I'm actually happy to be headed out to Pittsburgh this afternoon for our first high school football game this season. And you know what? I don't have any gum in my bag, so I think I will stop by Academy. There's one in Zanesville on my way out. And stop, get some Big League Chew, get myself a drink, and head on out to Pittsburgh.
I love that. And you can get your bike or grill built if you need to, if you're going to get one of those from Academy on your way home too. All right, Mick, let's do it. We're going bold predictions. We're going to go a little bit rapid fire here. We don't have too much time. You got to get on the road to Pittsburgh. I've got things to do. We've got to cover the Ohio State Buckeyes. Bold prediction number one from yourself, Mick. We're going to do maybe 2 or 3 here, season-long bold predictions, and then maybe a recruiting one. We'll see where the wind takes us.
As I told Spencer before the show, I talked to some recruits about what their bold predictions for the season are, and the common theme for most of them was that Jeremiah Smith is going to win the Heisman. So okay. I don't know if that's super bold. I think he's the top 4, top 5 in odds, but he's the highest non-quarterback, I believe, in most of the odds. I'd have to check BetMGM, who's going to be our odds sponsor for this season, and I will talk about more later on at some point throughout the fall. But I believe he's got the chance to be. I think he is the number 1 wide receiver in the country. I think he was last year, and again, he'll be next year as well. I just think Julian's saying, as a first-time starting quarterback, they're going to try and get Jeremiah Smith the ball in as many situations and as often as he can, and that's just going to lead to Jeremiah Smith being a Heisman winner as a sophomore and potential to go for a second one as a junior.
Wow, Jeremiah Smith wins the Heisman. That is as bold as they come, Mick. Wow. Okay. Well, we won't do any. I won't do any awards then to start this. Mick, do you know how many yards C.J. Stroud threw for in his first year at the helm of Ohio State?
I just know that there was the Oregon game where he threw for like 400, which is Ryan Day, and everybody's been talking about a lot this week. I don't know beyond that.
Okay. Well, he threw for 4,435 yards and 44 touchdowns. Listen, Julian Sands definitely not going to do that. But the biggest thing that CJ did was he set an Ohio State record at the time, which was just broken by Will Howard, of 71.9% passing completion percentage. Will Howard got to 72 last year. I think Julian Sands is going to complete 70% of his passes this year. I think Ohio State's going to set him up for success in nearly every game. I think Brian Hartline knows that with a young quarterback, you've got to get these receivers involved in the short game. Max Clare gives them a perfect option at some tight end screen stuff that they've been wanting to do for so long. I think CJ Donaldson and James Peoples are really good out of the backfield catching passes. And I think the passing game is going to be an extension of the run game in a lot of ways this year. And so my first bold prediction of the entire season, I'm just going to lock, stock, barrel, load it up for this game, or for not for this game, but for this entire season. He's not going to break that record and go 72%. But I think Julian's saying it at the end of the year is going to have completed 70% of his passes, because I think a lot of it's going to be quick, easy throws to start the season. And then as you get down further into the season, he gets more comfortable. Then you'll start to see some of that downfield stuff unlocked. And I think he's a really accurate player. I think he's a really good thrower of the football. And so, yeah, 70% of his passes, I'm pretty comfortable there. It doesn't mean that he's going to throw for 5,000 yards or break any records, but that's a pretty good season for a first-time starter.
No doubt. I'm full transparency, folks. I was not super prepared for this. So I'm going to let Spencer go back around and snake this to me so that we'll come back and we'll have a better bold prediction than just something off the top of the dome here. So Spencer's going to go for his second one.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot, Mick. I've been thinking about this a lot. And he got such a bad name last year because of the penalties. And he is really being doubted as a guy who can play at a high level and make an impact on games in the positive way. He was probably the number 2 cornerback for this team last year, and he might be the number 2 corner for this team this year, depending on what we get from Jermaine Matthews and Devin Sanchez. I think Davison Igbinosun is going to have at least 4 interceptions this year. I think he's going to have a bounce back season. People forget how good he's been throughout his career. He only has 2 career picks. Both of them came last year at Ohio State. He should have a third one. He had one in the Tennessee game that got called back by one of the worst roughing the passer calls you'll ever see on Kenyatta Jackson against Nico Iamaleava. I think Davison Igbinosun is primed for a breakout season, a reemergence. In the fantasy football world, we call these guys post-hype sleepers, where they get the hype one year and then they don't live up to it. So then they're a sleeper pick the next year. That's exactly how I feel about Davison Igbinosun. He was hyped up all offseason for getting ready for 2024. He has a fall off 2024. I think he will bounce back in 2025. The prime example of a post-hype Ohio State sleeper. I think Davison is going to have at least 4 picks for the Buckeyes this year.
I like that one. I like that one a lot after we talked to Davison this week. Now, after doing some research, we talked about Jeremiah Smith. We talked about Julian Sayin, the whole passing attack. Obviously, when you have that passing attack, you got to score points. The other team has to score points to keep up, which means you're passing the ball a lot. That's why you get the 4 interceptions for Davison Igbinosun. And that's why my prediction is that Kenyatta Jackson finishes with 13 sacks this season. I wanted to go single season sack record, but I can't see him getting 17 like Chase Young had in 29, like to pass Chase Young. So I'll go 13 just to say that he beats what JT Tuimoloau had last year with 12.5 sacks. He gets in, I believe Mike Vrabel had 13 sacks in a season. So I'll go 13 for Kenyatta Jackson to kind of, for him to kind of push forward to show what everybody's kind of been talking about this offseason and maybe even push himself into that first round conversation. Another notch in the belt for Larry Johnson.
Did you know that ESPN came out with the worldwide leader in sports, if you will, came out with a list of the top 2026 draft prospects, and Kenyatta Jackson was in the top 50 already, and he's barely even played.
So let's just outrun defender. It's something that we've talked. Smith and I are obviously clear. We've talked about it before on this podcast, but we're Steelers fans. Jack Sawyer has been a big impact for the Steelers so far in this preseason with his run defense. I think JT Tuimoloau has done the similar things, and I think Kenyatta Jackson has proven that he can do similar things to the run defender when it comes to just in spurts. I think that's what people see. He's kind of a stout edge defender. So now it's about getting that pass rush production, and that's why I'm going 13 sacks is my bold prediction, as I said a minute ago.
Yeesh. Wow. Okay. Let's go. I don't put a lot of thought into this pre-show because I think it's more fun to just make like outlandish predictions. And look, I do a lot of research on this team, so like I've got a lot of research bottled up. It's not like I just say these things for funsies, you know. Like I think. All right, I'll do it. It's on the defensive line still. I think Caden McDonald is going to have a year. I think Caden McDonald is a half inch short of being at Georgia right now as one of the best defensive linemen in the country, because every time somebody just starts for Georgia, we automatically assume they're one of the best in the country. It's what the national media does, the corrupt, biased national media. And so Caden McDonald should be getting more attention, and he's going to be an All-American this year. All attention's on Edric Houston. I love what Kenyatta Jackson, what Bo Atkinson, both of them do. But man, like if you flip on the tape in the rare times when Caden McDonald was in there in big time moments last year, he was making plays. This Ohio State offensive line is very good. The interior looks like it could be one of the strengths of the entire roster. And who's the guy that they continuously talk about as somebody who gives them trouble in run defense? It's Caden McDonald. I love Edric Houston. I think he's going to be a superstar for the next 2 years at Ohio State before he goes to the NFL. But I think there's reason to believe that Ohio State found one in Caden McDonald. Like Tyleik Williams at nose tackle, basically. Tyleik played 3-tech. K-Mac has a chance to be what Tyleik was, but a little bit bigger in at nose tackle. And so I have a lot of confidence in K-Mac this year. I will be stunned if he's not an all Big Ten guy, just because of how good he can be. And so, hey, if you're all Big Ten in year 3, there's no reason to think that you can't be in the running for All-American. I'll just go ahead and give him that honor anyway. I think K-Mac's going to be an All-American this year.
Good pick. Obviously, it's been fun to see K-Mac become the guy that people rely on and kind of people look for when it comes to that defense this offseason. So it'll be interesting to see how he does on the field this fall. But for my third and final, I think we're doing 3. So for my third and final bold prediction here, I'm going to go with let's see, like you said, I haven't put a ton of stock into it, and I don't want to go another award one because we've already done awards. But I'm going to go with, let's see, I'll go with Devin Sanchez is starting by November. And obviously it conflicts with what you said earlier about a little bit with Davidson Igbenogson, because you have Davidson Igbenogson, you have Jermaine Matthews. Both those guys can be number one corners. But I think once Devin Sanchez fully gets some game reps, gets up to speed, I think we're looking at a time where he's impacting the game as a freshman when it comes to this last month of the season, when you got maybe when you have a Penn State coming into the Horseshoe, when you got to go up to Ann Arbor and play against Bryce Underwood, assuming he's still starting and still playing then. But so I'm going to go with Devin Sanchez as a starter by November. That's one that I said came off the top of the dome. I think you and I would both buy some stock in a little bit of maybe a Max Claire Mackey award, maybe a Sonny Styles or an Arvell Reese award there at the Buckeyes award or something along those lines. Those are award-based ones, but we've already kind of knocked those out. So I'll go with Devin Sanchez as a starter by November.
Mick, you know what's really interesting though about that pick is I've been thinking about this the last couple of days. It's a working theory that I have. So how many games did Ohio State play last year?
We were there for most of 16.
16. Correct. How many games is an NFL season?
18 at this point, right? 17?
It's 17, but traditionally it's always been 16. And when Matt Patricia was coaching in the NFL, it was 16 for the most part of his career. Who's the defensive coordinator at Ohio State now? Can you refresh my memory here?
I believe it was the gentleman you mentioned ago, Matt Patricia.
Okay, and where does he come from?
New England.
Oh yeah, but they play in the NFL, right?
Correct.
Okay, so if Ryan Day wants to make sure that they're ready for the postseason by playing an NFL-like style, and then you transfer that over to the defensive side where you hire a defensive coordinator with an NFL-like style, I think they're actually going to treat this thing more like a 53-man roster with who they're ready to play. They were talking about how many guys are ready to play on defense with linebacker and defensive line and in the secondary, and they were naming actual numbers. Well, who's the only league that does that? It's NFL. They put these guys in buckets, who can play and who can't. But that's called the 53. Ohio State has a much more expanded roster because them's the rules. I think Matt Patricia is going to take an NFL-like style to the way that he does things on defense, the way he operates on defense, in a sense of if Devin Sanchez can play, he's going to play. And so I really like this pick from you because I'm starting to think more NFL-like in the way they rotate guys in the secondary and the way that they rotate guys at like nickel, which is a versatile position, and the way that they dispatch or they throw some of these guys out onto the field. Like you could see a path that Matt Patricia turns this thing into like NFL-like rotations where guys aren't playing every single snap. You know, there could be some substituting like the NFL does. And so that's a great pick for you, but it also works a little bit with my theory about Matt Patricia. Here's my final bold prediction. I didn't mean to derail us there. I think Ohio State's going to play for the Big Ten title. Lucas Oil Stadium is a stadium that we got to know for a while really well, and then all of a sudden Ohio State, they put a big scarlet and gray fence around that thing. We just aren't allowed in there anymore in December. I think Ohio State's going to get back there. I think this is going to be a back to doing business the way it should be done in the Big Ten. I'm thinking that it's going to be Ohio State, Penn State for the Big Ten championship. I don't know who's going to win that game because I think the Buckeyes are going to beat Penn State in Columbus. And I think that'll be Penn State's only loss of the regular season. We'll see if they can do it twice. And they might even have to play 3 times. But I think they're going to play each other for the Big Ten title.
I like that one a lot. Obviously, I think, Spencer, we have a written form of something similar to this coming out. And I think a lot of us kind of picked that same thing of competing for a Big Ten title. And you guys can read that over on Lettermen Row, $1 for your till August 30th to kind of get in there, read all our previous camp coverage, read all the things we got coming this week. I'm going to kick it back to Spencer one more time. I think he's going to give us one more amazing ad read about Academy Sports and Outdoors, and then maybe we can dish a little bit about some of the stuff that happened yesterday with the SEC scheduling, the recruiting stuff, before we get out of here and enjoy our weekend in high school football.
Absolutely. So I'll just get to that. There's no transitions here. This is an amateur show. At Academy Sports and Outdoors, we carry all the gear you need from top brands, all at prices you'll love. And now shopping at Academy is even more convenient than ever, Mick. We offer free assembly, in-store purchases of most bikes and grills. You want a grill? You don't have to build it. You know, everybody gets a grill. You're so excited to grill out, then you got to build the dang thing. No, you don't have to do that at Academy. They offer free assembly on most bikes and grills on in-store purchases, plus free and easy curbside pickup at academy.com. Orders, go to academy.com, get your order. You get free and easy curbside pickup. Mick, speaking of pickups or lack thereof, Ohio State misses out on 5-star safety Braylon Womack. Swing and a miss. Another swing and a miss, if you will, for the Buckeyes on the recruiting trail. It seems to be a lot of second and third places. As Ricky Bobby would say, there's nothing wrong with silver unless you're in recruiting, and then you don't get anything for silver. You just get, you tried, you were a hat on the table. The Buckeyes are having that more and more right now. Recruiting, there's a lot of people up in arms about it. But maybe there's some light at the end of this tunnel. Do you have any recruiting bold predictions, Mick? Any? If you don't, that's okay. I've got one.
Again, we wrote about this a little bit. I will say Spencer Stranges in there was a home run, not a swing and a miss. Like we've talked about with recruiting. I think a lot of Ohio State fans go by the other Ricky Bobby philosophy. If you're not first, you're last. So I think that's how a lot of fans are viewing this right now, whether it's on social media or in the Lettermen Lounge Masters board. Still, obviously, they have a top 10 recruit. There you go. They have a top 10 recruiting, shake and bake a little bit, but they still have a top 10 recruiting class, a ton of like top end guys in it. My bold prediction, as I wrote out, and I just like it so much, I'll say it here, and it's the one I truly believe in. I think Sam Greer, right now, he's a 4-star offensive tackle from Akron, Archbishop Hoban up there in Northeast Ohio. I think by the time this whole cycle said and done, he's going to be a 5-star consensus and the top ranked signing in Ohio State's class, just because I think he's going to have that great of a senior season and hopefully lead the Knights to a state championship, which I know is a big goal for him.
I like that. I'm going to make a bold prediction here. It's going to be the boldest one of them all. And if you've made it through this show, you're really going to like it. I'm serious. If you're an Ohio State fan and you made it through this show, you're really going to like this bold prediction. I think Ohio State's going to get it together. I really do. I think right now there are people in the building that understand that they need to change. I think there are important people having conversations about what needs to change. And I think by the end of this cycle, Ohio State's going to flip somebody big because of the change in the approach. I don't know who that is, whether that's Luke Wafel from New Jersey, who's was Ohio State's top target regardless of position, and he goes to USC. Maybe that means that USC had a bad year or something. I don't think it's Carter Meadows because I think that's more of a relationship issue as well, where he was really comfortable at Michigan. I don't know if it's Braylon Womack because Hugh Freeze is going to do Hugh Freeze things with Auburn, which on the football field, Hugh Freeze does a lot of things off the field too, but we don't need to talk about those. I have a feeling that as the season comes and Ohio State is really good, because I think Ohio State's going to be really good this year, that not money cannon, but I think the faucet's going to get turned back on a little bit in a way that we haven't seen. And I think Ohio State's going to start to get its act together on the trail and finish this class strong. Now, Alex Gleitman does not believe that's going to happen. You do not necessarily believe that's going to happen. Berm, I don't know how much he believes that's going to happen. I think he's pretty pessimistic right now just because of, there's a lot of negativity out there about the Ohio State on the trail. You guys are the recruiting experts, so you guys know what you're talking about. Just based on a few things that I've started to hear, I think there's a reason to believe that Ohio State could soon get its act back together on the recruiting trail when it comes to business as it should be done in modern college football, if you know what I'm saying. So
I think that's totally fair. I mean, you think whether it's this 26 class or even the 27 class in which a lot of their top targets are going to be here next weekend for the Texas game, like you have to make sure when you start this process, you're coming correct for the Ohio State football program. Just knowing that when you're trying to get these 5-star guys, these high 4-star guys, these top 100 guys, like you have to have the money, the dollar figures to actually be able to get them. And it's the same thing across other sports. 5-star forward Anthony Thompson, a top target for the basketball program, is going to be on campus for that Texas game. I think that's a recruitment Ohio State can win when you consider some of the other contenders in it. But they have to come correct with the financial component. And because he's a 5-star, because he's a really talented player that can play day one. So whether that's Ross Bjork, Ryan Day, Jake Diebler, Mark Pantoni, like the whole moving and shuffling of everything, I think there's different people that can kind of figure that out. And I do like that bold prediction from you. I do want to get you on one thing just because I love it when you rant about the SEC. Can I get an official comment on the SEC going to 9 conference games before we get out of here?
Yeah, the following is for mature audiences. It's about damn time, okay? It's about time. You know why? You know what? Indiana schedules poor out of conference because they play 9 conference games. Everybody in the SEC beating their chest about Alabama playing Wisconsin this year, and then 8 SEC games, then 3 other teams on their schedule. Guess who else plays Wisconsin this year as a 9th game? Indiana. Okay? So for all the chest pounding about what the SEC does, and with 8 conference games, and we go 10-2 with an 8-game conference schedule. Well, guess what? That 10-2 automatically turns into 9-3 if you play another quality opponent. it's you add a win for somebody, you also add a loss for somebody. So, 9-3 in the Big Ten isn't any good. Well, they play an extra game. So, of course, 9-3 in the Big Ten is different than what is in the SEC because they play an additional conference game against a like opponent. So, no, you can't play the Citadel anymore. Auburn.
But Mercer needs the money. Mercer needs the money, Spencer. Mercer needs the money. Central Arkansas needs the money. There's something.
Look, man, Ohio State's playing Ohio and Grambling. I fully understand that. In 2029, Ohio State's non-conference schedule is garbage. But guess what? Every single year, except for the 2020 year when their big non-conference game got canceled, and last year when their big non-conference game against Washington got canceled, Ohio State plays a heavy hitter every year in non-conference, and they play non-conference games. You're allowed to do it, and you can win national championships doing it. So get over yourself. It's about damn time, and get the ball out there. I'm done talking about this garbage now. It's football season, Mick. Kansas State -3. Okay, let's get into it. Thanks for watching, everybody. This has been Lettermen Row. That's Mick Walker. He got me off the rails on the Bowl Prediction Friday. We're just having some fun here. Season-long bowl predictions now in the books. You can hold us to these. We'll be definitely right or definitely wrong. Either way, you can hold us to them. Again, that's just Mick Walker on the other side of your screen. I'm just Spencer Holbrook. Go to lettermenrow.com right now. Get all of our coverage for just $1 up until the Texas game. Then we'll talk about pricing after that. We don't have to worry about that. Thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out in the Letterman Lounge. Go hang out in the real Letterman Lounge over at the Lettermen Row message board. We'd love to chat with you. We'll have a lot of chats heading into Ohio State, Texas next week. 8 days away from kickoff. Ball meets foot in 8 days. We cannot wait to be in the Horseshoe. Austin Ward, Jeremy Birmingham, Mick Walker, and myself will all be there. Alex Gleitman will have some behind-the-scenes coverage about what's going on the trail for Ohio State in the process. We'll see you guys over at lettermenrow.com. Thanks for being here.